I just got done watching the two videos for World Foundations, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. So, as far as the Hans Rosling video goes, he talked a little bit about the washing machine and the history of it, when it was invented, and ways it was used. And he told a story about when his family first got their washing machine. He used this analogy to talk about women around the world and how they wash their clothes and how energy is used, and the way that the washing machine creates a lot more convenience in women's lives. He talked about population growth and economic growth, and how most of the people that are pushing energy use and conserving energy are those in the more rich sector of the population of the world. And he talked about the fact that the people who are pushing for conservation of energy are not the ones who necessarily need to conserve their energy, and are people who have access to modern day conveniences, and can't necessarily sympathize with people who don't even have access to those conveniences and those appliances, but could benefit from them. He talked about how after his family got their washing machine, his mom had more free time, and how they were able to read and spend time together, and his mom was able to learn and do different things. And from what I took away from that video was that if we are able to allow people around the world to have those modern day conveniences, that their energy and their time can be focused elsewhere. And I thought it was interesting how he talked about the energy crisis as far as going green, but I also think the women's energy physically is being expounded because they do have to spend so much time washing their clothes by hand. And if they have access to those modern day appliances, then their energy could be focused elsewhere, just like, learning, like he said his mother did, time spent reading, learning other languages, things like that, and could greatly benefit their communities. For the second video we watched, it was the Cheryl Wudun video, Half the Sky. And she painted a picture telling a story about a girl in China and how her family had a school fee to pay for her but couldn't afford it, so she was going to need to be taken out of her school. But fortunately, the New York Times wrote an article about her, and a generous donor in the United States sent money to her, and she was able to continue her education. So she talked a lot about investing in girls' educations and the importance and significance it's put on those things. And I liked the way that she used examples of real women around the world and the things that they were going through, whether it was in their villages or in their cities, and the work that they were doing. She mentioned a term of going from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle, and hearing the word virtue in there kind of made me look at this through a little bit more of an eternal perspective. And I think as far as vicious and virtuous go, vicious just seems kind of like the world's ways and society kind of trying to put a lot of importance on power and money, while virtue seems to put more significance on education and self-empowering and confidence and being, just generally a good person, and using the things that you're given for good and to be able to serve others and better yourself. She talked about women who have been discriminated to death. I think that's not something you see, obviously, in the United States, but you hear about it around the world, and you kind of wonder, what can I do, or what difference could I make? And at the end of her talk, she spoke a lot about the difference that individuals can make, and that we can make a difference, and that when people come together, there is a huge impact that we can have. She talked about money that is being spent around the world by those people who aren't necessarily financially empowered, and that their decisions aren't always the wisest, but if they're educated and if they're informed, then they'll be able to make better decisions. I think women around the world don't realize this impact that they can have on lives, especially within their family. She talked about the consequences that come from a woman being educated, and the path that she takes in her life, and in turn the way her own education and her own goals affect her family and the children that she has, and the way those children are raised. And she gave a lot of hope among a few kind of scary examples and some very powerful visuals, but she did give a lot of hope and a lot of solutions to problems, and I really liked this video, and I think it's something that a lot of people could benefit from hearing.